Oh no, I think we're bringing too many paintings. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's gonna be too heavy on the spaceship. It's gonna throw it off track, and then we'll be forever careening around in space. We'll be lost in space. Yes, I know it'll be good to have a lot of figurative art on the spaceship. It'll give Will and Penny something to look at, and it'll give Judy and Major West something to look at besides each other. But 1,200 paintings, that's a lot. That's like really, really kind of too much. You know, it's too bad that this isn't the future where you could potentially shrink them all down and fit them onto like a teeny tiny little something, and that way we could take them all that way. Dr. Smith, you want to squeeze on one more? Oh my gosh. All right, fine. Well, you know what? What's the worst that could happen? So we get a little thrown off track. Fine. All right, let's bring it. 1,200 paintings. Welcome everybody to Living Figuratively. This is the show that asks the question, why not fill your home with the fascinating faces and figures of people that you don't even know? Why not fill your home with figurative art? Today, we are traveling further than we've ever traveled before. Today, or tonight, we are traveling to the moon. To the moon, Alice, to the moon. And not that Alice, no. And not the one from the Honeymooners either. That was always one of those cliche signature phrases that I never liked. The Honeymooners was a show starring Jackie Gleason, who played Ralph Cramden. And whenever his wife got a little too, much on his case, her name was Alice, he would say, he'd hold up his fist and he'd say, "To the moon, Alice, to the moon." Basically, what he was saying is he was going to punch her so hard if she didn't shut up that he was going to send her all the way to the moon. So that's pretty horrible and pretty creepy, and it never sat right with me, and I actually would like that phrase to just go away. So this will be the last time we give that phrase any oxygen in this show, because this show is all about how my art and the art of 1,200 artists is actually going to the moon absolutely the right way. So let me start by telling you about the art that is going to the moon. They're hitching a ride on the Peregrine 1 mission as part of a time capsule that's going to be left on the moon for future generations and future explorers that might happen upon it. So let's get started with the first one that's going to the moon. Right here. This painting is called The Skeptic. And she is one from my series along with Serenity Prayer and the boxer ones, featuring my favorite jewelry artist and model, Kim Matee. One of the things I love about this painting, which is why I'm so glad that she's going to be preserved in this time capsule, is that I think this is one of the best faces that I've ever painted. If you want to get a little zoom in to take a look at her face on this one, the three of these with the boxing gloves. One of them shows power and strength. This one right here happens to show vulnerability and a little bit of a shy tentativeness with the boxing gloves, defending herself. And the way that I painted the face on this one, it's got this sort of face of experiencing gravitas, there's no freshness to it. It has gone through the fire and come back out of the fire, and gone through the fire again and come back out of the fire again. And each time she becomes a little bit richer for it. So I'm glad that this painting is going to the moon. She is part of the series with the Serenity Prayer paintings, which I featured, I believe, in my very first episode of Living Figuratively. The Serenity Prayer painting that is going to the moon is this one right here, which has already gone to a loving collector, and so the physical painting is no longer here, which is an awesome thing. But her sister painting, Serenity Prayer Acceptance, is here, and this one is all about. I have a whole. In fact, my very first episode of Living Figuratively is all about this painting. But in a nutshell, it's all about that Serenity Prayer which is where you ask God to grant you the courage to change what you can, the serenity to accept what you can't, and then the wisdom to know the difference. And this was painted in the aftermath of my parents passing away, so it was very much resonated with me. So I'm glad that she's going to be going to the moon. This particular painting is available on my website. And the third large painting that is going to the moon is this one right here called Secure the Perimeter. This one features artist Joe Ayala, who is a Cleveland artist who I painted as part of a class that I taught at Bay Arts a few years back. The name of the class was Paint a Celebrity Artist. And basically what I did was I had artists from the area come to pose as the models for my class, and also to bring their own work to inspire the class. So in addition to being inspired by the face and body of a phenomenal artist, they were also inspired by the work of the phenomenal artist. Joe Ayala is, at the time, he was painting a lot of iconic black and white like cinema noir movie scenes, and or things that looked like they could have been. They weren't actual clips from actual movies. And along with a lot of vampire and goth kind of things with shades of that. In his day job, because a lot of artists have a day job because art doesn't necessarily pay the bills, his day job was actually a very interesting one. He was head of security for the Cleveland Cavaliers training center. And this was during the time when LeBron James was here, and then he wasn't here, and then he was here again. But he was head of security. So basically I painted him kind of as a Secret Service with these little, you know, the headphone things that Secret Service guys wear. And I painted a double image. He's securing the perimeter, looking both ways, protecting everybody. So how did these pieces come to get to, you know, ride this rocket? Well, Dr. Samuel Peralta, who is a physicist, was charged with putting together some things for a time capsule. And he convinced NASA that the time capsule should contain art and culture and literature from our, you know, from our culture, as opposed to just containing scientific stuff. So when he went looking for art to fill this time capsule that's heading to the moon on the Peregrine 1 mission, he looked to the Poets Artist publications. And there's actually like 100 of them that have been produced over the past decade. And fortunately for me, the particular publications he chose out of that 100, the various publications contained about 6 of my paintings. And so I will show you this one particular one right here. It's called the Portrait Issue, where different artists painted different other artists, and that's where Secure the Perimeter is. And there's also a picture of me in there too, so I'm not sure if the whole spread is going to the moon and there's going to be a picture of me there on the moon, or if it's just my paintings, but either way, it's all good. The other paintings, the Skeptic and the Serenity Prayer, were part of the Sight Unseen show, which was had a physical showing at the Abend Gallery in Denver, and it was curated by Alia El-Bermani, who is one of the founders of the Women Painting Women movement. And she curated a beautiful show, and 2 of my paintings were included in the show, and one of them sold, and both of them are going to the moon digitally on a teeny tiny little disc. So that's 3 of the paintings of mine that are going to the moon. The other 3 are small works, and fortunately 2 of them have already gone off to loving collectors that so they're not physically here anymore, but there is still 1 more of them left over, and she is right here. This painting is called Charmed, and the reason I called it Charmed is because the model to me looked a lot like Shannon Doherty from Beverly Hills 90210. On Beverly Hills 90210, she was only there for the first 3 seasons, and she went on, Shannon Doherty went on to play in another show about good witches that get into all kinds of good trouble and have to save people all the time. That show was called Charmed. And while I was painting this was an alla prima, like a one-day alla prima study. While I was painting this painting, we were actually binging on watching the show Charmed with Shannon Doherty in it. So I thought that, the fact that my model looked like Shannon Doherty put together would make a very charming name. So I named the painting Charmed. And because it's so gem-like and charming, I framed her up in gold and made it a statement like that. So that, my friends, to make up for last week's 47-minute episode, is my episode for tonight. It's really just a quickie. So thank you for joining me tonight for Living Figuratively. And be sure to come back next week. Next week, we will ask the question that my kids always ask me whenever we go on long car trips. They always ask me, Mom, you have to go to the bathroom again? And yes, we do have to go to the bathroom again. We'll be going next week to a different bathroom. We will be going to the powder room. And you'll find out why it's called the powder room. I will give away that secret, which you may already know, but there's another one that you may not know. So next week we'll be going to the powder room. So come back, same bat time, same bat channel, Thursday night, May 13th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Y'all come back now, you hear? And don't get lost in space.